We're just going to be looking at the assignment brief here now. Now, this document that I've got on here is available on Moodle as well. It's just under Research in Health and Social Care -AB.
Yeah.
The first section of this, it just gives you the learning outcomes and assessment criteria, like the unit spec. Then you scroll down and it gives you the assignment. Now, this assignment I've actually split up and popped into a PowerPoint, but it follows the exact same information. Now, for the PowerPoint, I've actually added a little bit of extra information just to help you lay your work out. So again, like the last assignment that you did, just a few useful tips. Read the text carefully, focus on the details and the command verbs. Got a little bit of an idea of how many words you should have as a minimum on here.
Yeah.
Make sure you reference your work into there, and it just gives you an idea of how to do it over here. So for this particular unit, you're going to be doing 2 tasks. Now, both of these tasks will be on the same Word document. So it's just like what you did previously. Task 1 is a research proposal, and task 2 is a research appraisal.
Yeah.
So task 1 is where you're actually carrying out your proposal, you're putting down your research project down.
Yeah.
And then task 2 is you answering a few questions, and that covers learning outcome 1. Now, for research proposal task 1, you're going to develop an extended research project specification relating to an aspect of health and social care management in which you, and now these will go through all of the assessment criteria. So, 1, you're going to design an appropriate research proposal.
Yeah.
There's 9 points I'll go through, then I'll explain. 2, you're going to construct aims and objectives for the research topic. 3, you're going to apply any ethical considerations relevant to the chosen topic of research, so confidentiality, data protection, patient agreements or participant agreements.
Yeah.
4, you're going to conduct a literature review of the chosen area. So if you notice, they've actually broken it up very nicely. So as long as you follow these points, you're going to be covering every aspect that you need to be covering.
Yeah.
5, develop relevant research questions. So you've done your literature review, you've put down your research here. 5, you're going to see if there's any further research questions you might want to add.
Yeah.
Number 6, you're going to select appropriate research methods. So you could talk about primary research. You say, because of time availability, I've conducted secondary research. In the future, I would prefer to do a little bit of primary research too and do, fresh information from people, from district nurses, from patients, from family members, and so on.
Yeah.
7, carry out the research. So that is just you telling me how you carried it out. So first you talked about what type of research methods you want to use, and then you say, this is how I actually did it.
Yeah.
8 is collate research data. So on here, put down a couple of tables, graphs, images, just something that will support the research that you've done. So 9, analyze the data and present the findings. 10 is relate research findings to the original literature review. And then 11 is formulate recommendations related to the chosen research topic. So this covers all of learning outcome 2, all of learning outcome 3 and 4. So I'll go into the next section and then I'll ask if you have any questions. So I've just put a bit of extra info here. This isn't part of the assignment brief, this isn't within that, but it's just to give you an idea of how you're going to be doing things.
Yeah.
So overall, you're going to be carrying out a research project for task 1. You're going to include the title, you're going to include the aim and the objectives, then you're going to have the research questions.
Yeah.
Now, I've changed this order about a little bit because it doesn't really matter what sort of order you do it in, it just needs to go in cohesion for you. I think this flows better.
Yeah.
What we had there, because research questions should be at the top, but they put it in the middle. So I think it makes more sense. You're going to put down any ethical considerations, like we said, data protection or confidentiality. So just a couple of sentences about that. Then you're going to have a section that's a literature review, and you're going to present your data. So everything you found, you're going to put in there, going to include any supporting images or tables or graphs. Then you're going to write down, I'm going to conduct this via primary or secondary research, how you did it, what sites you went on to, how long it took you to do, and then again, if you've not already added tables, charts, and graphs, add it onto this section here.
Yeah.
Then you're going to include a section where you're going to analyze your research findings and include your own judgments. Then you're going to have a paragraph relating to the original research project where you got the information from, and just say things like, this is where I got my research from. Originally, this was the outcome that they decided, but I've done further research, looked at further resources and sites, and I've decided that my research is different or my research is the same. You've got the same conditions or the same output. And then finally, you're going to include any recommendations you make about the research project. Is there anything you would change? Are there any other areas that you would research? Are there any other questions that you would research instead? So lay it out in this type of way here.
Yeah.
So that is task 1. Is there anything you'd like to ask or clarify?
No, thank you.
So task 2 is a research appraisal. Now this is just sort of what you've already done now question-wise, where in the last unit I gave you a set of questions and you just answered them. This is how this is going to go now. So in the research appraisal, you're going to undertake a review of the research methods used for task 1. And this review should answer these questions now. So number 1 is critically evaluate different types of research methodology. So that's covers AC 1.1. So you're just looking at qualitative, quantitative. Remember when we talked about strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah.
And you can also even put down primary and secondary research in here.
Right.
Oh, actually, no, sorry. Please don't add primary and secondary research here. Add it into 1.2.
Right.
That makes more sense. So then number 2, describe the methods used to gather data. So what you physically did. So I would, in that section, do a section about primary data. What is primary data and how you would, what sort of things you would do to carry out primary data, like focus groups, interviews, phone calls, and then tell me what secondary data is and then how you would use secondary data to carry out your project. So you'd go on the internet, you'd look at some books, you look at magazines, different websites.
Yeah.
Number 3 is describe the tools used to analyze and present data. That's 1.3. That is just where you look at tables, graphs, charts. So say I looked at different charts and what sort of things are available, what sort of graphs you might make and how you would present it.
Yeah.
And then number 4 is explain how the validity and reliability of data in research was assessed. So that's 1.4. On this section, you're just going to explain how you know it was valid. So you're going to say it's from a reputable source, reliability of it, how current it was. Then you could put down, I have enough industry experience where I'm able to judge whether or not this is good data or bad data, and just explain how you would check the validity of it.
Yeah.
So you just look at that VAXA thing that I said. So valid, authentic, current, reliable, and sufficient.
Yeah.
And so that's it for task 2. That covers all of learning outcome 1. So word count wise, task 1 should be around about 3,000 words. So don't worry about your bibliography, where your references will be, or your appendices. Excluding those, it should be around about 3,000 words, which you'll get to very easily. Task 2.
It seems like quite a nice, simple one as well.
Yeah, it is, because I know you got a little bit concerned when we were first doing this on the day 1 for learning outcome 1, where it can be like, oh my gosh, it's a research project. What am I doing? And the questions are such in a roundabout way where you think, how am I going to answer these? But when you just set down to it, your research project, when you physically get down to it and you put it down to paper, you'll, without even realizing, you'll end up covering most of the criteria.
Yeah.
Task 2 is around about 1,000 words, so it's nice and small, this section. You're just doing a couple of paragraphs for each section.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that doesn't include the bibliography or the appendices. So if you do add any charts or graphs or anything, you can do that. Now, one suggestion I do have for you, where it says 1.3, describe tools to use and analyze and present data, just add a couple of images in here. Even if you've already done it in the beginning in your project, add a couple more, like a table or a chart or an image, and then just explain what they are and why you use them.
Yeah.
And that's it. So assignment presentation, what you did was fantastic with your partnership working one. So carry on with the same type of layout again. Put down a contents page where you put down your questions and your page number. Start with an introduction. Write down the ACs. You don't need to mention it for task 1. So all you've got to do is just write down research project at the top. You don't need to split it up. That's fine. But for task 2, please do mention it.
Mm-hmm.
And then put down a conclusion and put down your references, and then you're done with that.
Lovely.